You know, it's actually kind of funny reading articles from mainstream outlets that cover stuff like this, because it's like watching someone with an almost complete jigsaw puzzle who simply refuses to put the final piece into place because they...
The final piece that you're trying to say, that you're contorting this article into, so obviously the article's conclusion is that superhero fatigue is an issue, and studios have to come to grips with that. And it seems like you, who are pointing out these movies star women, are written by women, and directed by women, seem to think that is the issue. That seems a little sexist. Just saying. Now, if you already dislike these anti-woke grifters and want to know how to fight them, there is something easy you can do right now. I know it sounds self-serving, but liking this video, commenting, and subscribing to this channel do help take algorithm space away from these grifters. I want to do a little bit of Mary Sue research, and there's a video I saw that seemed like something that we should probably, that would probably involve Mary Sue shit. Critical Drinker, our favorite. The Death of the Girlboss. I downloaded the video, but I didn't watch it, but still gonna watch it. Okay, whatever. Okay. The Death of the Girlboss. Let's see. Another video that is monetized by YouTube, that YouTube is making money off of. This video. The recent flop of Madam Web. By the way, Madam Web isn't on the thumbnail. A video apparently about Madam Web, where on the thumbnail it's Captain Marvel, Echo, and She-Hulk. Actual MCU characters. Anyways, after the recent flop of Madam Web has caused mainstream outlets to make the shocking women don't watch that many superhero movies. You know Morbius bombed too. Like, those Sony movies were doing extremely poorly. Madam Web was going to do poorly as well. I'm sure Sony wanted to make money off of it, but no. What does this mean for the future and the coming after a disastrous series of female-led flops that could be witnessing the death of the cinematic girl boss? Oh, God. All right, Critical Drinker, let's see. Let's look at your fantastic movie analysis skills here.
Now, I believe it was Newton's third law of motion, which states that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Unfortunately, it doesn't work quite the same way in the world of corporate entertainment, where the rule would be better described as, for every 50 or so actions, there's an extremely belated and insufficient reaction. A good example of this would be the disastrous series of flops we've seen over the past year or two. Projects like Rings of Power.
We don't know numbers off Rings of Power. The numbers Amazon reported, and like I said, these streaming services, they keep the closed book on the numbers, so what we have is very limited. The numbers released on Rings of Power were very, very good.
Peter Pan and Wendy. Ahsoka.
Peter Pan and Wendy. That was just Disney Plus, wasn't it? Like, that's another thing that nobody talked about except Chuds. Nobody cared. Ahsoka was excellent. I loved Ahsoka. Ahsoka was like the fantasy part of Star Wars coming back. We get the gritty Andor, and then we get like the fantasy elements of Star Wars in Ahsoka. It was great. And She-Hulk was like, She-Hulk's not perfect, but it was fun.
She-Hulk, Resident Evil.
She-Hulk's probably gonna have to be its own essay in the future online when I put that together.
Robin Hood.
Okay, Robin Hood. Yeah, he's just pissed because that director called him out. That series hasn't even been released in America, to my understanding. Wait, what was, Okay.
She-Hulk, Resident Evil.
Oh, Resident Evil. I think that was just a Netflix series, and that was universally panned, to my understanding.
Evil, Robin Hood, The Witcher, The Marvels, and...
The Witcher? The Witcher starring Henry Cavill? And you're... The Witcher? What?
Marvels, and most recently...
No. The Witcher? The Witcher. And it's a woman holding Jess Keir at finger point. As I recall, this is a point where she's trying to get information from him, and he's holding out on her, and she's trying to intimidate him. Because she is in a position of power. So I think she's a sorceress, if I remember, and he's just a bard. He has no way to really fight up against her. But it doesn't even really matter, because this is the fucking Witcher starring Henry Cavill, a badass white dude who hunts monsters. This is such a terrible fucking example of your goddamn point, bro.
The Marvels, and most recently, Madam Web.
Yeah, Marvel's bombed, but again, we're seeing this a lot. So Eternals bombed in the box office. Huge streaming numbers. Marvel's bombed in the box office. Huge streaming numbers. Argyle, the new Henry Cavill, he didn't, really the star of that was Bryce Dallas Howard, but Henry Cavill was like, I don't know, he was in a decent amount, but he was a fictional character, so he wasn't really a major character. But anyways, he featured in it heavily in the promotions, which actually makes sense considering the context of the movie. Anyways, Argyle, bombed at the box office, is now its hit streaming. Are you seeing a pattern? People are being more picky about what they go to a theater to see. Box office numbers are down across the board. So, but there are still a lot of movies that people, they don't go to the theater to see it, but when it hits streaming, they'll jump on it because, oh yeah, that looks cool, I want to check that out. And they'll watch it, and they'll become hits on streaming. It's becoming a fucking pattern. And it's all because of COVID shrinking down that window between theater releases and fucking streaming release. They shrunk that down, so people only have to wait a couple weeks. So if you're not like a nerd like me who does a podcast where you try to keep up with the newest movie and stuff like that, if you're not doing that, you're just going to wait a couple weeks and see the goddamn thing on streaming.
Why did you say that name?
I mean, let's be honest here, that was a movie that anyone with more brain cells than me after 6 pints of Skull Splitter knew was going to be a massive flop.
Yes! Because the Sony attempt at the Spider-Universe has been flopping. With the exception of the Venom movies, and even Venom 2 didn't do all that great. Fucking Morbius was a bomb. Madam Web was fated to be a bomb. Nobody cares about the universe. And it would be one thing if Venom was somehow this brilliant fucking movie, which it isn't. Venom is entertaining to watch. Even the second one, I say, is entertaining to watch because they're dumb. They're fucking dumb. They're not great movies. And you're building a universe off this movie that is fucking dumb. And yeah, of course, they're bad movies. And people are seeing that they're bad movies and not going to the theater to see them. Shocker.
Despite having an opening weekend almost as long as its entire theatrical run if it carries on at this pace. I love this quote from The Hollywood Reporter from a North American distributor. On Wednesday night, you could actually watch advance ticket sales declining in real time as buyers were refunding their tickets. It really says something when you'd rather have Shazam 2 numbers.
Shazam 2 was a massive bomb too. I don't know what the exact what was the difference in numbers between Shazam 2 and Madam Web? Hold on. Because Shazam 2 was a huge... Shazam 2 actually bombed a lot worse than the Marvels, if you're wondering. It did really poorly. And I do think it's interesting that Judge didn't swarm that one. So, box office run for Shazam 2. It did domestic, it did 57 million, international 76, so worldwide it did 134. Not good. What was it for? Madam Web might have actually done worse. So I don't know if Madam Web broke 100. Yeah, no, Madam Web did worse. Madam Web, 43 million domestic, 56 international, and 100 worldwide. Now, again, for context, Marvels. Yes, it was a bomb. It was a flop, especially for Marvel. But 84 million domestic, 121 international, 206 worldwide. And here's one that, everybody was calling, the biggest flop ever, and it definitely underperformed. I will give them that. But Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, 174 domestic, 209 international, 383 worldwide. Just saying.
Point is that when a big flop like this happens, the access media tends to scramble to find a convenient and
Bob the Old Ways. Rings of Power had a massive boost in viewership after the season finale dropped. Most people waited for the full series and binged it. Well, it might have also helped that, like, that series got better with every episode. That finale was fucking awesome. Like, holy shit. Like, the last 3 episodes of fucking Rings of Power that season were fucking fire.
politically acceptable excuse. But in this case, The Hollywood Reporter seems to have made an admission about the film's target audience that I don't think anyone expected. Quote, "I don't know if women are enough to carry the box office here," one veteran studio source outside of Sony says. Indeed, males make up 65 to 70% of the superhero audience in North America. In the case of Madam Web, the percentage of female viewers was still only 46%.
46% is almost half, which is, I mean, it's less than the representation of the population, but not massively. I believe, women are 52% of the population? So, I mean...
Now pay attention.
Okay, like... Did he say what article that is? I'd like to look that up. What's the context? Did he say what this is?
I don't think anyone expected. Quote, "I don't know if women..."
You gonna source it?
But in this case, The Hollywood Reporter seems to have made an admission about the film's target audience that I don't think anyone expected. Quote, "I don't know if women are enough to carry the box office."
Okay, we are looking up this article, guys. You know the drill. It is inside Sony's Madam Web collapse. Forget about a new franchise. The flop is wiping out an entire plan for a new movie series as the studio becomes the latest superhero studio in need of a pivot, by Pamela McClintock and James Hibbard. Trailer buzz was worrisome. Advanced ticket sales anemic. Then last week, the critics' reviews for Madam Web were posted, and they stung deepest of all. Sony's Spider-Man spin-off received the lowest average Rotten Tomatoes score, 13% of any major superhero film in nearly a decade. On Wednesday night, you could actually watch advanced purchase sales decline in real time as buyers were refunding their tickets. Marvel's a major theatrical chain executive. It really says something when you'd rather have Shazam 2 numbers. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, he was pulling that from this article as well. It was marked as one of the lowest starts in Hollywood history for a film based on a Marvel character. I will also say a very, not significant Marvel character. This is not this is like a Marvel character that is just an exposition character. My web pops up and is like, "I have a mission for you, Spider-Man." That's it. That is the depth of the Madam Web character. Domestic box office for the first 6 days in North America was just 26.2 million after opening midweek on Valentine's Day. International tallied 25.7 million from 61 markets. Even the fan-friendly cinema score grade was a poor C+, extremely low for a superhero title. Like DC and the once unstoppable Marvel, Sony is now finding itself in under the gun to reevaluate how it makes comic book movies. Sony's previous Spider-Man universe movie, 2022's Morbius, was a critical bust and much maligned by fanboys online, but at least it managed to earn 170 million worldwide. That is true. Morbius did do better than Madam Web, but that was still pretty bad. There's no such hope for Madam Web. Plus, the features collapse doesn't just impact the film, but a new potential franchise led by star Dakota Johnson that Sony had hoped to spin out. Spoiler alert, her character is connected to Peter Parker, whose birth is documented in the movie, but he is never named. Just saying. The film introduced a trio of supporting characters played by Isabella Merced, Celeste O'Connor, and Sydney Sweeney, now one of the top stars of her age. It set up a future in which the three could become a team of Spider-Women under the guiding eye of Johnson's Cassie Webb. Now that's not going to happen. We're not going to see another Madam Web movie for another decade plus, quipped one industry veteran. It failed. Sony tried to make a movie that was a different type of superhero movie. Madam Web joins a troubling trend for the superhero genre. Every live-action comic book movie last year underperformed aside from Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Regardless of studio superhero fatigue has evolved from a term used by some corners of fandom to something reluctantly accepted as an industry fact. And it's coming at a time when Marvel, DC, and Sony are all attempting difficult work of birthing new franchises. So, Madam Web, directed and co-written by S.J. Clarkson, and starring Johnson as New York paramedic who developed psychic powers, seemingly took a wise approach. When there are capes and cows on every Metropolis corner, doesn't it make sense to avoid the usual trope and try for more grounded feelings, suspense thriller with low-key charm, and moreover, make a superhero movie for women and young girls? Except it didn't work. So she's actually saying that's actually not a terrible angle to approach it from. And I agree. So the idea is, there is lots of issues with the idea behind Madam Web. One of them is not, let's do a supernatural thriller about, young women. That's not a bad idea. I mean, if this movie, I don't know if it would have been great, but this movie would have been better if it went for a hard R horror movie where essentially you have a Spider-Man style serial killer. Because that is what... that is kind of what's set up. The main villain is the one with superpowers. He's got the spider powers. He essentially has Spider-Man powers. That could be cool as a serial killer thing. Now, it's obviously held back from the fact that there is studio interference. S.J. Clarkson can't really make a hard R movie at all, which, if you're gonna go for something like this, go all in. Otherwise, what the fuck are you wasting time with? So yeah. Anyways, so she, I'm sure Critical Drink won't bring that up, but, the point in this article is, that wasn't a bad angle. Anyways, I don't know if women are enough to carry the box office here. One veteran studio source outside Sony says, indeed, males make up 65% to 70% of the superhero audience in North America. In the case of Madam Web, the percentage of female viewers was still only 46%. We are in transition when it comes to superhero movies, notes the insider. I don't know how big that transition is or what the other side of it looks like. It may be fewer movies, but bigger brands. Sony is willing to take some risk, but also wants home runs. That's good. And if Sony's upcoming Spider-Man universe title, Kraven, is a gigantic hit, the narrative could be completely different. So it's too early to know the outcome. This current mood on Sony, on the Sony lot is gloomy. An insider says the studio certainly has notable wins under movie chief Tom Rothman's tenure, including the Oscar-nominated Spider-Verse series and live-action Venom. The third Venom starring Tom Hardy is due out November 8th. Rothman is known for keeping a close watch over budgets and has been widely reported that Madam Web cost $80 million, but the actual number is the low $100 million range. According to several sources, still that's far less than the $200-300 million routinely spent by Marvel DC. True. Interesting. Some Madam Web reviewers are earnestly making the case that the film could eventually find a second life as a camp classic. The Los Angeles Times praised it as the purest form of camp, and Slate raved, it's a travesty, a disaster, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. While such backhanded compliments are hardly solace to Sony, there's an argument to be made that if you're going to fail, you might as well fail big, because there's actually something worse than a movie not succeeding, being forgettable. Okay. This is a thoughtful, well-thought-out article. Kind of just going over how Sony kind of screwing the pooch with this goddamn superhero franchise. One of the points of this article is make a superhero movie for women and young girls is not the terrible idea, except it failed because it was a bad movie. Let's see if Critical Drinker accurately represents the point of the article.
Is here, one veteran studio source outside of Sony says, indeed, males make up 65 to 70% of the superhero audience in North America. In the case of Madam Web, the percentage of female viewers was still only 46%. Now pay attention, 007, because this one's important. Madam Web was a superhero movie specifically designed to appeal to a female audience. It's got a female lead, a trio of female supporting characters, a female director, and a female-led writing team. And guess what? None of it helped. Women didn't turn out to see it, not in the numbers they needed anyway. It was the same problem.
Yeah, and the article is clearly talking about how that is because of superhero fatigue and the fact that, like, the movie's not great. I wasn't a fan of the Marvels. Marvels is way better than Madam Web. It's not even close.
Problem with the Marvels. That film had 3 female leads, a female director, and an all-female writing team. And what happened to it? The male audience was...
Oh, I see. You're making the argument... He's pretty much making the argument that it's bad because women? Is that your argument, Drinker? It sounded like that's your argument. That's not a great take, dude. That's a bad take.
Put off by a movie that did everything except ban them from attending screenings, the much anticipated female audience failed to show up, and as a result, it was the biggest box office flop in MCU history.
That was a big hit on streaming. Big hit on streaming.
So tell me, what exactly did these 2 movies have in common? That's right, they both tried to pander to an audience that was never going to see them in the first place.
Oh, how dare they try to get the women audience? So your argument isn't, oh, you know, it could have been better. Because both movies, I think, could have been better. I think most people will agree. Both movies could have been significantly better. Madam Web had a lot more room for improvement than the Marvels, but they both could have been better. I think everybody would agree to that. And, you know, there is superhero fatigue, and unless you not... And that's the other thing worth noting. Superhero fatigue is a thing until there's a really fucking good one. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. The Spider-Verse movies. Really fucking good superhero movies. All of a sudden, superhero fatigue's gone. Yay. Yay, this is great. So it's all about just, you know, making sure... It's really kind of about just making sure they're good. That's the box office lesson. Make sure this stuff is good, and the audience will show up in the theater. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness made almost $1 billion. That movie was pretty goddamn good. Although I would argue Guardians was better than Doctor Strange 2, definitely. But yeah. The lesson I would learn from that is make your movies better so people discuss them and it becomes an event movie. Marvels, like, I'm not a fan of Marvels, but, like, it didn't even feel like a big event movie. It felt like just a movie that came out and kind of plopped out. But again, it was a hit on streaming, but yeah, it didn't feel like a huge event movie. It didn't feel like something you need to put your time aside to go watch.
Place. You know, it's actually kind of funny reading articles from mainstream outlets that cover stuff like this, because it's like watching someone with an almost complete jigsaw puzzle who simply refuses to put the final piece into place because they...
The final piece that you're trying to say, that you're contorting this article into, so obviously the article's conclusion is that superhero fatigue is an issue, and studios have to come to grips with that. And it seems like you, who are pointing out these movies star women, are written by women, and directed by women, seem to think that is the issue. That seems a little sexist. Just saying.
They don't like the picture that it forms. Well, if they won't do it, then I'll have to do it for them. Because here's an inconvenient truth, dear viewer. Men and women tend to be interested in different things.
Why are they interested in different things, though, Drinker? Have you ever asked yourself that? What are the big differences between men and women? Like, at a biological level, when they're first born, what are the big differences? So the big differences between men and women, biological level, different privates, some basic physical differences. It's not massive. Largely, brains work about the same. It's all about the same. The differences between men and women are largely societal. So, if it's largely societal, does that mean it's impossible for women to like superhero stuff? Not only is it not impossible, it's common. There's actually a lot of women who like superhero stuff. women is by far the growing fan base for comic books. So it makes sense when you are, like, if you want to grow your fan base, maybe make some stuff for women. Now, do they need to make some better stuff for women? You want to make that argument? Okay. I mean, I think there's been some good stuff already. The Wonder Woman 2017 was good until the third act. First Captain Marvel's totally decent. Though those first two Disney Star Wars movies are good. There is good media for women, but there's also meh and bad media for women as well. Because, fun fact, there's good media for men, and then there's bad media for men, and then there's meh media for men. You see, as you expand and allow more diverse voices, you're going to get a more diverse range of good and bad stuff with more diverse voices. Does it mean you don't have the more diverse voices do stuff? Absolutely not. No, more diverse voices is better. It's better. You get, like, different stories from different perspectives. You can get some really, like, cool stuff. One of the books I'm reading through, I've got most of it, but I haven't really gone into it. Alan Scott, Green Lantern. That is the story of essentially a gay man who is closeted, he's, you know, it's set back in the world during World War II, so it's in the past. He's closeted. He is ashamed that he is gay. He doesn't want to be gay. He's going through conversion therapy. I don't know the full details of that yet. I really am, like, I've only read the first issue, but I am engaged and I'm interested in that story, just reading it from a different perspective. I'm just a cishet white guy, but I think it's interesting seeing a story from that perspective. And seeing stories from different perspectives, not only is it interesting and gives us more stories to explore, but it also allows us to see stories from different points of view that we may not have been able to see before. And you're saying we shouldn't even do that because that's not the original target audience? Or that's not what people are used to? Or that's, you know, men and women are too different? Fuck that. No. More diversity in our stories is better. End of story.
Oh, man. Oh, God. Oh, man.
Oh, whoa. Whoa. Oh, my God. Guys, have you seen this meme before? Holy shit. Oh, my God. What an original meme, Critical Drinker. No one's used this one before. That's a great fucking meme. More people should use it. You fucking genius, bro. That's a brilliant fucking meme. Moving on.
I know, it's truly an earth-shattering revelation, but there it is. In fact, if you care to break down the box office statistics by gender, you'll find that women make up 85% of audiences for romance movies and 70% for musicals.
So, do you think women prefer that stuff because it's in their fucking DNA? Or because it's societal and more of that stuff is geared towards women? You see, it requires a little bit of critical thinking here. Critical drinker.
Men, on the other hand, make up 70% of the audience for superhero movies,
Again, do you think men are genetically predisposed like superhero movies? Or do you think it's because that's just kind of the societal norm and what we're used to? This isn't rocket science. Like, yes, superhero movies are geared towards men. Romances are geared towards women, in general. Doesn't mean you can't do it the other way. Doesn't mean you can't do a male focused romance movie. In fact, they are actually male focused romance movies. I don't know, like High Fidelity came out in like 2000. That's a male focused romance movie starring John Cusack. Male focused romance movies exist. So If male-focused romance movies are fine, why are female-focused superhero movies not fine? Now, you can make the argument that Madam Web sucks. It does. But it doesn't mean the concept of doing a female-focused superhero movie is inherently bad, because it isn't. And there have been good female-focused superhero movies. I already brought up Captain Marvel, already brought up Wonder Woman. They exist.
5% for action movies and 65% for science fiction and fantasy. In fact, this nifty little graphic from the British Film Institute breaks down the preferred genres for men and women, and you can clearly see the difference in preference between...
You, again, I already brought up, you do understand that a lot of these movies are geared towards these demographics, and it doesn't mean they can't gear them towards different demographics. My God.
That's not a good or a bad thing, but it is a thing that movie studios should pay attention to. Instead, they've been doing the exact opposite in recent years. They seem to regard audience demographics as a problem.
Why are you showing pictures of Loki? Like, again, like they try to make the argument like somehow Sylvie was like like the new all better Loki, and she's not. Loki is still very much the main protagonist and honestly hero of that series.
That needs to be fixed, instead of the inevitable result of different groups of people having different interests. And the thing is, their solution has produced the worst possible outcome for everyone. In the case of the big box office franchises like Marvel, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Star Trek and others, which naturally tend to skew towards a male audience, they made a conscious decision to tell more stories with female leads.
Okay. All the Disney Rey movies starring Daisy Ridley as Rey, all those made over $1 billion. Captain Marvel made over $1 billion. We don't know the full streaming numbers on Rings of Power, but it sounds like it did really fucking well. Wonder Woman did like $700 million. Like, there's plenty that do well, bro.
A lot more. There's nothing wrong with that on the face of it, but whether or not it works all comes down to implementation. Instead of writing likeable and distinctly feminine characters that complement...
Distinctly feminine characters. Well, you know what? It's almost like there is a diversity of different women out there, and maybe there are less feminine women who would like themselves to be represented. I know, shocking.
The existing male ones.
Don't you hate when like there's a diversity in character types? Because that's really what we're talking about here. We're not talking about male or female tropes. We're just talking about diversity in different character types being able to do different things. And nothing wrong with that.
The writers and creatives treated it more like a competition that only one side was ever allowed to win. A story about a female protagonist learning to free herself from the oppressive demands of others and discover her true potential is a...
Yeah, because they've never done a male story about that. They've never done that one. Good point. Yeah, men never face that struggle in movies. Good point. Fucking winning. Like, off the top of my head, The Matrix. Jesus.
Perfectly viable story to tell. The problems creep in when that becomes the only story that you ever tell, and their standard practice of lazily taking stereotypical...
The only story? The only story? Number one, that, like, you can make the argument that there's only so many stories in the world, and it's kind of how you tell the story that matters. You can absolutely make that argument. But, yeah, it's not the only story at all. What the hell?
Typical male traits and pouring them straight into female characters failed to...
Okay, there was an interesting admission he just said right there in that couple of seconds. Let's rewind it a little bit so we can watch through. Hold on.
Only story that you ever tell, and their standard practice of lazily taking stereotypical male traits and pouring them straight into female characters failed to win anyone over.
So, his argument right there is that all these movies, these typical tropes that they write for women, already exist for male characters. And he's making the argument that they shouldn't exist for women characters? Why? Why, Critical Drinker? That's a weird fucking take. Why is it okay for men to have that, but not women? Fucking weird.
Men were generally put off by the new crop of overbearing, aggressive, infallible girl bosses who seem...
Lots of Captain Marvel clips. like I said, Captain Marvel, like, it's definitely one of those movies. The more I watch, I'm like, this is fucking solid. They did all right.
To exist purely to show off and humiliate their male counterparts at every opportunity.
They always whine about that, and they have yet to really bring up a really good fucking example.
While women failed to connect with them either because they represented
Hey guys, we don't need an example. I'll just say it. It's fine. We don't need examples. We don't need citations. It's all good.
Masculine ideals that didn't come naturally to them in a genre that most of them didn't particularly care for anyway. In short, Hollywood's wasted billions of dollars chasing an audience that doesn't exist, and in the process they've gradually pushed away the one that did. On the flip side, look at what...
Oh, is that what they did? Never mind that Guardians and the Spider-Verse movie did really well. Okay. Well, that's true. Well, I mean, he's arguing. None of the characters are infallible, but that he brings up. But also, he's arguing that it's okay if men are infallible, but not if women are. I don't like. Again, it's a double standard all over the place.
What happens when you actually understand your target audience and make a film that caters specifically to them? Barbie was the biggest hit of 2023, and even if I personally didn't like it,
I was about ready to say, is he gonna bring up that terrible review of Barbie he did? Fucking hell, that was a shit show. That was some sexist shit right there. Fucking hell. But it's like, oh, but it was a hit. Yeah. That one was directed by a woman, co-written by a woman, starring a woman, big hit. But I guess it's okay because it was Barbie. Even though you guys, all you chuds, were fucking talking about how terrible that movie is and how it's gonna bomb hard, even though it fucking didn't, and you were all wrong on it, and now you're gonna go back and rewrite some history right now, Drinker? Is that what you're doing? Good fun, good fun.
Doesn't matter one bit because it wasn't made for me. It was a movie written and directed.
Oh, so yeah. By the way, I guess it wasn't made for me either, but I enjoyed it. It was a fun movie. I kind of feel like, well, that's the thing too. Like Barbie, part of the reason it was so successful is because it had lots of men showed up and watched it and enjoyed it as well. I'm going to assume not insecure men like Critical Drinker, but you know.
Directed specifically for women. Everything from its aesthetics to its dialogue to its themes and messaging were designed to appeal to female audiences, and it worked big time. Top Gun Maverick, on the other hand, was aimed primarily at men because it incorporated so many of them.
I would like chuds to stop fapping off over Top Gun Maverick. I cannot. This is so frustrating because I thought Top Gun Maverick was a lot of fun. I've only seen it once in the theater, but I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it was a really well done movie. But these motherfuckers talk about it like it's like the best fucking movie of the goddamn decade. And it's not even the best movie of the fucking year. It was just a movie that was better than it had any right to. Who knew, like, 30 years later, they'd make a decent Top Gun sequel that is probably better than the original? That they did a good job with it. But it is hardly like groundbreaking cinema. It is just a fun fucking movie. These guys need to get the fuck over it, I swear to God.
Masculine tropes and themes that men traditionally find appealing.
Oh, is that what it did? I thought it was just about Air Force pilots. Jesus Christ.
Action and explosions, advanced technology, fighter jets, militarism, macho conflict and competition. Both of these films achieved massive success.
Oh. Christ.
Success because they understood their core.
I would definitely argue that Barbie is better than Top Gun Maverick easily. I've seen Barbie twice. I've only seen Top Gun Maverick once. Yeah. Like I said, it's an entertaining, fun movie, but like it's nothing deep.
Or audience and how to appeal to them. Now imagine how detrimental it would have been if the studios tried to incorporate elements that appealed to the opposite gender. Like if Barbie's colourful...
Oh, you mean like having a woman pilot and having her be part of the team that helps defeat the bad guys? Oh, wait, it does do that. Oh, no. Top Gun Maverick is woke, guys. Oh, shit. Not even consistent with your goddamn examples, bro.
Full exploration of female identity, empowerment, and self-actualization was interrupted by big macho action scenes with guns and explosions and technology porn. Or Top Gun Maverick devoted lengthy sequences to a female pilot lamenting how difficult it is to gain respect in a male-dominated profession while maintaining her sense of feminine identity and her aspirations for marriage and family. In both cases,
Oh, so you acknowledge that the woman pilot is there, but you know, oh, but that's okay. I swear to God, like, if the narrative was that Top Gun Maverick was woke, you guys would be railing so hard against her and, like, cherry pick her story as if it's some sort of woke feminist propaganda. But because you guys decide it's okay to fap off over Top Gun Maverick, oh, it's fine. Jesus Christ, you guys have no fucking standards, I swear to God.
The core target audience would probably have rolled their eyes and thought, why do they have to inject this crap into my movie and totally spoil the fun? Well, congratulations, now you know how it feels to be a fan of any of the big franchises over.
I do think it's interesting how in the editing process he is downgraded the color in Barbie for some reason. I don't know. Well, I know why. I think it's to make it look shittier than it is. Barbie is a very bright and colorful movie, as it should be. But if you're looking at these clips, somehow Top Gun Maverick is brighter and more colorful than Barbie, which it isn't. It doesn't make any sense.
Over the past decade or so. The thing is, I think the message is finally starting.
I agree, Chuck Wood. I've actually seen Avatar Way of Water twice now. I think that was better than Top Gun Maverick. There's lots of movies better than Top Gun Maverick. The Batman was better than Top Gun Maverick. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, better than Top Gun Maverick. Spider-Man No Way Home, better than Top Gun Maverick. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, yeah, I'd probably say better than Top Gun Maverick. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, better than Top Gun Maverick. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse, better than Top Gun Maverick. Oppenheimer, better than Top Gun Maverick. Lots of stuff is better than Top Gun Maverick. These guys need to get the fuck over it, I swear to God.
Starting to sink in with the good people of Hollywood's. Maybe not the creatives, but definitely the soulless money men paying their salaries who've spent the past several years watching their profit margins slowly fall off a cliff.
True. Okay, so you want to talk about the soulless movie executives that made fucking Madam Web? Because they are the ones that made Madam Web. They are the ones who are just obviously, you don't watch Madam Web and think, oh yeah, S.J. Clarkson had, a huge role in this vision or anything. You don't. You watch it and you're like, this is just some studio fucking draining blood from the Spider-Man franchise. Just any bit of blood they can get from that Spider-Man franchise, they are draining it. That's what you get when you watch Madam Web. Madam Web doesn't suck because it has a women leads or women writers or women director. It sucks because it's a soulless studio cash grab. Let's be serious.
Like I said earlier, for every 50 or so actions, there's a belated reaction from Hollywood, and it's finally starting to happen now. The first domino to fall is Silk Spider Society, a female-centric Spider-Man spin-off in development at Amazon Prime. According to the press releases, the entire writing team's been fired, and the show is being refocused with a more male-skewing audience in mind.
Well, it's almost like the Sony Spider-Man projects that they're using to milk the fucking franchise are failing because they suck.
Now, this might not sound like much of a big deal, but...
you are right, Bob the Old Ways. The original movie is, the original Top Gun is nothing special. It's fine, but Top Gun Maverick, I would say, is better, but like I said, there's lots and lots of better movies that have come out in the past couple of years than Top Gun Maverick. I mean, if you talk to a chud, it's the best movie of the decade. Ask to anybody who actually watches movies regularly. It's fine, but it's not worth freaking out over. It's entertaining.
But it is, because it's the first time that a studio had the balls to publicly declare that they're targeting a project towards a male audience again. In 2024, that's the equivalent of a vegan restaurant saying that their new menu is going to cater towards...
You do realize why they did that, right, Critical Drinker? It's the studio wanting to blame... essentially, it's the studio wanting to blame the female demographic rather than take responsibility for the fact that they are a soulless cash-grabbing machine milking this franchise. That's the problem with these movies. It's not that they're female run, it's that they're fucking soulless cash grabs. And the studio doesn't want to admit that they're soulless cash grabs, so they're like, oh, a female demographic, we shouldn't have gone for that. And here's Critical Drinker, just essentially riding that corporate line again. Riding the corporate line. You guys talk about how Critical Drinker and fucking Nerdrotic speak truth to power, but the fact is these guys, they pretend like they're against corporations, but damn, so often they ride that corporate line, don't they? Fucking interesting.
It's meat eaters. It's the first time that anyone in Hollywood's openly admitted that what they've been pushing on us for the past decade or so just isn't working, no matter how much money they throw at it. That you can't make every movie appeal to every person. That trying to attract female audiences into a male-dominated genre with clumsy pandering doesn't work and never will work.
Well, I mean, Wonder Woman made money. The first Captain Marvel made money. You just gotta, like, do a good job with it and it will work. It's not that tricky.
In the words of Nerdrotic, all they're doing is taking boy brands that everyone could enjoy and turning them into girl brands that no one enjoys. So what exactly can we...
Was it Nerdrotic or fucking Chris Gore? It was probably both. And a fun fact, those are sexist takes. They are. Women are allowed to like superhero movies. In fact, making superhero movies that women can enjoy, nothing wrong with that either. I don't know. The Marvels and Madam Web are not amazing examples. I've already said Captain Marvel and the first Wonder Woman are much better examples. They made bank.
You expect now that the pendulum's starting to swing?
I mean, hell, the very existence of Wonder Woman debunks this entire argument of this entire video. Wonder Woman is like one of the top 5 most recognizable superheroes in all of fucking existence. Everybody knows who... People who've never read a comic book before know who Wonder Woman is on sight. So don't tell me there isn't a woman audience for fucking comic book movies. There fucking is.
The other way. And more importantly, what do we want to see moving forwards? Well, believe it or not, I don't think their approach needs to change that radically if they want to win back old fans and restore a bit of balance. Franchises like Marvel, Star Wars, DC, and Star Trek.
Has there been a huge fan base for the Sony Spider-Verse movies? Well, I mean, I guess Spider-Verse movies would be the Miles Morales one, so there is a fan base for that. I guess the Sony live-action Spider-Villain, Spider offshoot, is there any huge fan base for that universe? If so, I've not seen them at all. I don't think they exist.
It can still have plenty of kick-ass female heroes going on exciting adventures.
And I guess I will also add the caveat, saying that if Sony wants to get some really creative, really talented filmmakers and just kind of let them do their own thing with these projects, let them do something creative and cool with them, maybe this could work. But right now, the way the studio is obviously manhandling these movies and just fucking around with them, it's not going to work that way.
They just need to be written more like actual human beings with believable flaws and weaknesses and challenges to overcome, instead of overbearing, obnoxious...
The characters in Madam Web weren't presented as flawless characters. Neither was Galadriel. Neither was Captain Marvel. Neither was Rey. Neither was any of these examples they like to give. These were all characters that had flaws that they had to overcome. Just because you refuse to acknowledge them doesn't mean they don't exist.
Power fantasies that nobody can identify with, and they need to be balanced out by equally strong and capable male heroes that appeal to male.
So if there's a lead woman protagonist, there has to be a lead male protagonist as well? What the fuck argument is that? No, there doesn't.
Audiences, because believe it or not, those are the...
What, they have to have a strong, confident white man? Why? There's a billion movies about strong, confident white men. You don't need another one. What the hell type of rule is that? What? It sounds like you're trying to make rules for art. Like, you have to follow certain guidelines to make a good movie. That's not how this works, dude. No.
The driving force behind your box office revenue. They need characters who can actually challenge and push them to be better, who don't automatically give way to them at the slightest sign of conflict. Instead,
You gonna give citations? Like, where does that happen? No citation? Cool. I mean, what? Is his citation Loki? Because Loki, at the end of Season 1, and especially the end of Season 2, Loki is very much the main hero. Sylvie is very much a supporting character. Maybe you could argue in the first season she's the second most important character. But not really in the second season. In the first season, she's the second most important character. I could argue that, but not really in the second season. She's like third or fourth most important character there. So that's, and then the argument, like, I guess you could argue that Loki gets humiliated, but it's not to make room for Sylvie. He gets humiliated because he was the villain. You gotta put the villain in his place to even start the hero arc. That's how that works. Yeah, no, exactly. That there should be no fucking rule like that. That's insane to propose that. I can't believe people take this guy fucking seriously.
instead of the neutered lumps of wet lettuce that we've been getting, who are always portrayed as less smart.
Doctor Strange was presented as the one who, like, yeah, he was flawed and he had stuff he needed to work through, but he was the one who was pretty much right. He is the one who had to tell America that essentially she has to, like, she didn't have the confidence to win, and he's the one that told her, you know, you have to do it. And, like, fucking Scarlet Witch was just pretty much a villain in that movie. So, what? Like, he had obstacles to overcome, but he was definitely more right than a lot of the other characters throughout that movie. Not a good example.
Less skilled, less confident, and, well, just...
Moon Knight? Moon Knight? Number one, you're showing a clip from, okay, so you want to argue if the Moon Knight series was a bit uneven. Okay, I could give you that. You're showing a clip from, like, the episode that had me in fucking tears. The episode that shows his backstory about his abusive fucking mother. Oh my god, that was beautiful. And Oscar Isaac fucking destroyed in that episode. Like, what the hell is your argument here?
less in general. And yeah, after almost a decade of trying to make it work, I think it's about time to accept that the great experiment has been a...
Eternals is incredibly underrated. I don't think it's a perfect movie, but it's incredibly underrated. It is a solid fucking movie.
Complete failure. You're not gonna get equal numbers of women to watch science fiction or action or superhero.
Who says? Who says? You know who got me into science fiction? You know who got me into Star Trek? My mom. My dad wasn't into that stuff. My mom got me into it. So this argument that women aren't into that stuff, get a fucking grip. Yes, they are. Grow up.
Movies, just like you're not gonna get equal numbers of men to
Color faded. Wait.
watch romance flicks or musicals.
Okay, number one, Barbie isn't a romance flick. It's not. It's a goofy comedy about a doll. Number two, lots of men saw it and enjoyed it. You know, if you're not an insecure man, it's capable to enjoy Barbie. Because if you actually paid attention to the message of the movie, it's that men and women can and should live together and strive towards equality. They should accept each other, accept each other's differences, and work to be better. Come on. Yeah, Bob the Old Ways. Yeah, women saved Star Trek back when it was canceled. Yeah.
The Girlboss concept is dead. You might not like...
Okay, again, this example drives me insane. So, the Girlboss, and then it's a picture of fucking Scarlet Witch, who is the fucking villain in the movie. She's a goddamn villain. The fuck is this argument? She's not the Girlboss. She's a fucking psycho killer in this movie. It's insane. And these guys are trying to act like she was like the new protagonist of the... No! She's the fucking villain. Holy shit. It's such a dishonest argument.
Concept is dead. You might not like it, but your audience is your audience all the same, and if you don't start catering to them, you might just find that they no longer exist, and perhaps neither will you. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
So that was just a super sexist video. Of course, that's kind of what I expected with something called Death of the Girlboss. Trying to say that women shouldn't be in superhero movies because Madam Web bombed. Despite the fact that Madam Web bombing is the most predictable bomb in all of fucking human history. Everybody knew Madam Web was going to do poorly. Nobody cared about a Madam Web movie. Nobody fucking cared. Sony wants to make money on its fucking the little bit of Spider-Man franchise it has, and it's not working out for them. It sucked. Critical Drinker, I would say do better, but you're not at this point. You've got your audience. You've nurtured them. You've taught them all this bullshit. And now they will regurgitate it in my comment section, as they like to do. Guys, like and subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed this.
Books, records, films, these things matter. Call me shallow. It's the fucking truth.